those things go right, so a bunch of other things on, say, like maybe a level up would go right also. Like, so you can get to that level, so you can be able to level up after that level, and this, that, and the third. And you gotta have the tools, like, and be able to differentiate between apples and oranges. Because sometimes, what works for one situation isn't necessarily gonna always work for another.
Right.
And even if there's similarities, especially if there's similarities, like,
right.
At that point you would want to pay much more closer attention, because it's going to be all in the details, like,
right.
Usually. And that's where I'm at with it at this point anyhow. But, like, I'm no expert, I'm still learning myself. So these things are all just a day-to-day thing. Because, as we know, the internet is changing. Technology is advancing. And there'll be a point in human existence where the things we create will be much more intelligent and more powerful than us.
Right.
I gotta ask you this question actually, because this all coincides with the music stuff too. What is your, like, I guess you could say, standpoint on artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence is kind of just an offshoot from, I feel like a lot of people in general are artificially intelligent.
There we go. You know. But here's the thing with that. My thing is here. One day, their artificial intelligence will supersede that of ours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like the machines per se.
If it hasn't already.
That unbeknownst to us, what I'm saying about what we know and what we think we know or we believe or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, thinking and believing it are two things that could probably be in the same box, but knowing it is entirely separate.
Right.
So, it's interesting to me how a majority of the time, right, we think these things can't understand us the way we understand them.
Right.
Meanwhile, we created these devices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are all created by some humans somewhere, or maybe and processed by another machine or something like that. So, it's not like creating a baby where you're going to create, while this person could be better than you, contingent upon the circumstances in which they survives, you always know this machine is going to be what it is.
Right.
A baby can develop and grow into something entirely different than you intended.
Right.
The machine is going to be exactly what you intended it to be. Like, no matter what. Even if it progresses more than you thought it would.
Right.
So that's like something I'm looking at and I'm learning to understand more nowadays, because these are real intricate devices, man. Like, I say this all the time to everyone all the time. A real issue in our society is people are more focused on their devices, like their cell phones and all that stuff, and less focused on literary devices. And,
right.
Stuff like that speaks volumes. It's like, not many people really can kind of grasp or really create that thought. Like, just,
right.
Hey, perhaps one day this machine will have my job. Like,
Yeah.
There's mad people in America right now that got jobs that can be taken by a robot. So
yeah.
Meanwhile, you worried about the next man and you knocking them down and doing this, that, and the third. A freaking machine gonna come in here and take your job later on. Like,
yeah.
And that's life. Like, Not to say it hasn't happened already.
Yeah.
So
robots are taking all the jobs.
Yeah, hey,
build a wall.
Hey, look up the internet. You worried about the people coming over here. I say you got worried about technology advancing. You can't stop that. Like, I
guess you'd have to build a firewall instead of like a regular wall. And anyway,
yeah. Was that Terminator joke?
Yeah, but man, it's crazy. Trying to I've reached out to some artists about some interviews and stuff like that. This is one cat I know him for quite a minute, and I've seen his journey, and he's definitely progressed as an artist. I want to have him on here, just to talk about his music. Him, his boy, he sings, his boy sings, he raps, whatever. He raps pretty well, so I'm interview him. We just got to figure out a schedule. Yeah, I want to get some more local artists. I might even I'm like 70% sure I'm going to go to New Weekend again tomorrow, but I think I might want to interview some people,
right.
Online and stuff like that.
I understand totally, man. Like, that's also a great way of incorporating yourself in the culture, or just in your craft because you want to know. You want to know what other people are on. Like I don't carry myself when I go to these like events or something like that.
Right.
Where I'm closed off. I'm not much of a social person.
Right.
But I will say that I speak my mind. Like you know what I mean. Like
Right.
so. Like if I'm spoken to, I'm gonna speak back. Like you know what I mean. That's my attitude towards things.
Right.
So, I like to learn why people want to do this.
Right.
Like not necessarily to compare and contrast, but because I know the way I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if other people feel similarly.
Right.
Like you know what I mean. And to feel this is something many people can't fathom. Like you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
some people just go through the motions with this. Like you know what I mean. It's like making love to your woman. Like you know what I mean. Some people just go through the motions, and then others they're passionate about it. So
yeah, you know what it really is? It's like being in a polyamorous relationship. It's with like a girl that has multiple boyfriends, and you know, it's just like, well, why are you here?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really be that territorial about someone that you're sharing.
Exactly. See, that's a great way to describe it, and that's for the fellas out here because I know the ladies. Y'all know we like a grade above y'all, below y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all like a grade above us. So, like, I'm always trying to keep the perspective, you know, and more often than not, there's too much to lose from not understanding it properly.
Right.
You know, what I will say though is anytime I've never regretted having a conversation about anything in regards to music because it led me to a better understanding anyway. Like you know what I mean? It doesn't got anything to do with the person necessarily. It's about the lesson.
Right.
People always shoot the messenger and forget the message.
Right.
You know, and that's a problem if you ask me. So, like you know, it's just learn. Like
right.
Don't be afraid to learn. Like go to these places. Like even if you're not a social person, like you know what I mean. The attempt to do it, I guarantee you'll get more out of it than just sitting there knowing you know everything.
Right. I mean, even if you're not a social person, you know what? Just dress loudly, and someone will come up to you. Like, just wear something outrageous, and people are like, "Yo, what's going on here?"
Yeah,
they'll come to you
immediately.
Like, yeah,
you know, and that's the beauty of conversation. That's the beauty of interaction, communication. You know, it's all communication.
Right.
That's all it is. Like, if someone gets you wrong, like you're part to blame for that. Like, you know what I mean? You're partly responsible because you communicated in such a way, either through silence or through words, that was how you were to be treated. You know? So,
yep, facts only.
And you know me, I'm learning all this right now. So 5 years rapping and singing or whatever and performing, it still hasn't set me in my ways yet compared to what you gotta learn and unlearn. Like, you know?
Right.
It's not just a learning process. You also gotta unlearn, you know? Because
right.
there's a lot of stuff that you were taught that are detrimental now. Like, you know? And everyone can say that. Like, you know what I mean? Literally. If you ask me, though, it's a lot harder to unlearn than it is to learn, though.
Yeah, because once it's ingrained in you, it's kind of like you have to undo it as opposed to, like, having a clean slate.
Yeah, especially. You're just doing damage control. Like, you know, that's all it is, you know? So, you know, it's going to be a lot. But what I would say is that it's always worth it. You know?
Right.
The hard work is definitely always worth it. It reflects all of it. It reflects all of your work ethic. Like, you know? And everything that you found through the likes of Ambition, pardon me. So I'm at this point where I'm recording something, right? I have the ability to be able to record in a space where it's like in my home or whatever, but I would still rather go to a studio, and I can never explain that to people because they don't really understand why or what I'm doing or why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, you know, at that point in time, you gotta tell yourself, you know, you're going to get this done. You're going to wait for someone to get it done for you. And majority of the time, that's what having a home studio does for you. You get to do it yourself. But then there's some aspects where you're just like, you know, I want to engineer
right
while I'm recording. So, you know, I need to fulfill that also.
Right.
So, in that respect, I know that there's so many artists out here who have these weighed options and they're just going in and out of their mind and trying to figure out what's next, what to do. And in the midst of all this stuff, like there's the artists that we are seeing everywhere, plastered on every and anything. And we all just want to figure out, what they're doing, what it is they got going on, what it is they've done to achieve the greatness they have found within themselves to go out here and share with us now. You know what I mean? It's not just, oh, he did this and that and the third, oh, and he's a sellout and this, that, and this. Like, nah, like y'all are seeing things so short-sighted that that's how you're going to perceive it. Like, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily what we are perceiving things to be in regards to facts and fiction, you know? Because there's a lot of fiction in the music business, we all know.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, in the facts, they stand the test of time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're here to stay because it's echoing into eternity. Like, you know?
Right.
And regardless of that, it's going to end up being something that's going to be beneficial for all the other artists to come because, you know, they get to see someone else make the mistakes, so they don't have to make the mistakes. So, you know, it's intelligent to learn from your mistakes. It's wise to learn from someone else's, you know?
Yep.
So I always find that interesting when it comes to music because I made so many mistakes, man. Like, I won auditions. I've done all those things. So it's like, you know, it's up and down. You know, there's never a point where I had to really second guess myself because I knew I wouldn't have got those results had I not done what I had done. You know what I mean? There's so many things going on, and a lot of times things get lost up in the focus. You know, when you're trying to focus at least and concentrate and get yourself in the mode. But you know what? A wise man once said, "When you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready."
Oh yeah.
So
wait, did Medea say that? Nah, I'm playing, but yeah,
probably did too. I wouldn't be surprised. Like literally, you know what I mean? Like she always has those quotes, the philosophical quotes, and you know, like, you know, there's so many things to it. But I just know that for a fact, if you are ready to do music, you at some point in time got to take the reins and the responsibility for your own education and what's going on around you because nobody's gonna hold your hand out here. Like that's for everything,
right?
You know, and it took me realizing nobody was holding my hand to be like, I gotta walk across the street. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and just be like, let me just make sure I get across the street safely. Like, you know what I mean? Make sure there's a red light there. Make sure I check both parts of the road, you know?
Right.
And just, then at that point, you walk across. So, you know what I mean? No hand needed. You know, and that's independence to me. That's a great analogy to describe the independence in the music industry. Because the majority of these people, they're just looking for a helping hand, but do you need it? Like, you know, you got legs, you know?
All right, so we about to wrap soon, but what would you say is like, well, as in wrap up, not rap. But what would you say would be I'm trying to think if it would be your ultimate goal, or like what do you ultimately hope to accomplish through your music?
Myself personally?
Yeah.
I'm here to make history, yo. Like, in all honesty, like if I'm being completely honest, I don't do anything for attention, but I don't do anything on a small scale intentionally. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like everything is like, you gotta be larger than life. Everything is go big or go home. Like, you know, so I can do small things in big ways. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I could also do big things in small ways. It's all a matter of my perception of it. And I only say my perception of it, it's because I'm the one who has to make this what it is. You know what I mean? No matter what. And at the end of the day, when you're on that stage and your 50 homies are standing behind you, you know what I mean?
Right.
They can sit there and chant your lyrics all they want, but you're going to be the one with the microphone.
Right.
You're going to be the one with the focus of the stage. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's only but so much your 50 homies on stage is going to do for you. Which is why I perform alone the majority of the time. But, you know, you get where I'm coming from with that, you know? So, me personally, I'm here to do something that has never been done before, even if it's all been done before. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not here to do the same thing my peers are doing. I'm not here to accept the fact that I'm always having peers. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes that's not the case. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you're all unique in your own way, and you're individuals. And being able to appreciate people on that kind of level, it says a lot to me. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not here to do anyone dirty. I'm not here to get over on anybody. Where a lot of people, that's their primary goal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't see anything wrong with wanting to do things big and have history and whatnot. Whereas people are trying to tarnish and sabotage. I'm trying to build. Like, you know, not even trying. Like, I'm building. Like, you know, and that's a beautiful part of it. You know, regardless of how this plays out, and whether I get some kind of recognition for all this stuff, other people find a way to get to my music before I'm able to give it to them.